Well, welcome to a special group advising discussion about graduate school. This is co-sponsored by the Social and Behavioral Science Program at USM Lewiston Auburn College, and also by the Student Success Center at USM that helped organize it. We're part of a series. The Social and Behavioral Science degree is a very flexible degree. We encourage people to explore all the options that are available professionally, even without graduate school, but increasingly we do find that our students are interested in graduate school, and some opportunities, of course, require that. So about every several years we realize it's time to ramp up, to find out where students are, and also to find out what the situation is and better advise on graduate school opportunities, both deciding to apply and the process of applying. And so we're very fortunate here today to have Lisa Sweet, who's Assistant Director of the Office of Graduate Admissions at USM. And she will be starting us out with about 20 minutes, basic, really basic. You may have noticed that this was advertised as thinking about graduate school, thinking about graduate school. Some people in the room may be actively in the process, but wide range of perspectives we know are here, and some are just basic. How else would you know that the planning that is involved, for instance? And we also have a variety of resource people. I'm pleased that we have more students here than we do resource people. We just broke that barrier. But we have people from the Social and Behavioral Science program. Carol Nemroff is here. Social and Behavioral Science. Mark Silver is here. Jan Phillips is here from Social and Behavioral Science program. A couple of folks from the Student Success Center. Lindsay Wood is here. People involved in career advising and our internship program, Lee Muntank. We may be seeing others. And Jolene Spence. And that gets us to recent graduates or current graduating students who have gone through the process of applying to graduate school and are here to share their experience. Jolene Spence is wearing two hats in that regard. And also Megan Harrigan is here, and she has been accepted into MSW program, right? And Jolene is adult ed. And we also have, this information would be very useful, people from different programs, a lot of overlap. One of the programs that you might be interested in is the Leadership Studies program. And Tara Coast is here as the rep for that program with a graduate student, George
Fish is my last name.
George.
Fish, yes, like the sea.
Okay. So we've got people with a variety of different perspectives. I've asked if you have questions you want to be sure to get answered, to write them down on a card. I can do a little bit of pre-sorting, but I think we're going to have the time and flexibility for you to pipe up too. But we'll start with about 20 minutes, and Lisa's doing a very condensed version of the basics, and then we'll go by your cards and your questions. And I think we do have people from more than just one program here. I'm happy to see also a family member, which is great. So it's an opportunity to see what information these are. We can't answer them or meet them today. This will give us some good leads on where we need to go next. And that's another good reason for this kind of meeting. So I'll just go around and put cards and Lisa get started.
If you didn't receive one of these, so I'm actually not going to use this today, so these are yours to take home. This presentation usually takes me about an hour and a half. So I'm going to talk to you just from my experience. I've been working with graduate admissions for 6 years. At USM, the same 6 years. I've been the assistant director for 3 years. So I know the process at USM inside and out, backwards and forwards. What I will say to you, first of all, is even if you're not interested in a USM program, a lot of this information will apply. I speak in generalities when I talk about applying to graduate school. The reason I do that is because you will find out once you start researching your programs that it depends on not only the institution that you're applying to, but the program within the institution that you're applying to. So during my information sessions, I probably say it depends a couple dozen times. So you want to do your research first off. And some of the basic things that you want to think about. There's the application. Most of the applications are now all online. There's a huge electronic component to these applications. So this application and the application fee. Here's something that you might not know about application fees. If you pay using a bank card, which is your debit card or anything like that that's attached to your checking account, it can delay your application. So you'll want to use a credit card, which will send it through immediately. Also, don't wait until the deadline. Just don't. It's silly to wait until the deadline to submit your application. A deadline is for a complete application. That means your letters of recommendation, your transcripts, and transcripts means from any institution of higher education that you've attended. We don't need high school transcripts, but we do need anything if you transferred in from community college or from you live somewhere else, you took classes somewhere else. Institutions will need all of those transcripts. If you are in the UMaine system and you're applying to USM, there's a whole other set of rules that apply to transcripts because we can typically access those, but you still need to tell us that you attended all of these institutions so we can go out looking for them. Many of your documents are now imaged in our imaging system, so we need to go out and be able to search for them. This is a true story. I had someone who went to USM, but didn't tell us they went to USM, and just assumed we would pull that transcript. We received, lots of applications, especially at our heavy deadline times, and unless you tell us that you attended USM, we're not going to go look for it to pull it. So just be sure you tell us. So application fee, transcripts, letters of recommendation. It's really, really important to start thinking about who you would ask for letters of recommendation. You want to ask folks who can attest to your ability to succeed at the graduate level. Your ability to think critically, problem solve, work well with others, all of those things. You do not want to ask a friend, a parent, a sibling, anything like that. You want to ask colleagues, supervisors, faculty members, someone who knows you and can really attest to that ability for success in graduate school. Most programs require 3 letters of recommendation. However, you'll want to do your research. Some programs, including the MLS program, only require 2 letters of recommendation. Also, our nursing program at USM only requires 2 letters of recommendation. So that's important. Okay. The next thing you want to be looking at in your research is whether or not there's an admissions exam that's required by the program. Again, this will depend on the institution and the program within the institution. Some programs don't require any exam. The most widely accepted admissions exam is the GRE, the Graduate Record Examination. If you look up gre.org, I think it'll send you right to the GRE website. That's where you would sign up and sign up for a test date and all of that. Sometimes test dates are hard to come by. So again, this is part of that planning process. So I know this was entitled Thinking About Graduate School, and what I like to say is that it's actually never too early to start thinking about graduate school because that planning process. At USM and other institutions, we have deadlines that used to be February 1. Those have moved to the fall. So they're in October. I know the OT deadline is in October. Our counseling and social work is in October. Counseling is November 15th. Nursing options is November 1st. There's so many of those deadlines have shifted from the Feb 1 deadline to in the fall semester. So really you want to be thinking about it because some of the programs only admit once a year, and if you don't meet that deadline, you need to wait a year and apply the following fall. And it happens. Yes?
Hi, Lisa.
Hi.
Question about, go back to that piece right before about recommendation
Yes.
letters. Is it good advice to encourage students not to be shy, that if somebody said they wrote a letter, to get back to them
Yes.
and hound them a bit, let them know this is what I need it by?
Absolutely. I think that it's really important, thank you, Christy, actually, for bringing me back to that. It's really important that you give your recommender enough time to write that letter of recommendation. It's also really important to sit down. I like to say, bring your resume, make an appointment, sit down and talk with them, be able to leave your resume there so they can make notes on that and talk to them. why are you interested in the program? Why are you passionate about this program? So they can then formulate that in their letter of recommendation. The letter of recommendation and your essay are really the only parts of the application process that you can tailor to you. You know, you've got test scores and transcripts, which those are letters and numbers on a piece of paper. But if there's something unique about you that you want the admissions committee to know, and you might not necessarily write about it. Say, for instance, you worked on a project in your undergrad with this faculty member, but that's not really where you want to focus your essay. Bring that up when you're talking to that faculty member, and they'll probably put that in the letter of recommendation. And exactly, if you notice that that letter of recommendation hasn't come through, that it's still due, through USM and your online application, you can go back into that system and send an email reminder to your recommender that hasn't been done, and could you please do it. Also, you can email them just yourself, or you can call them. If you see them, stop by, ask them. You know, and just again, that goes back to giving them enough time to do it. The beginning of the semester, typically not a good time to ask faculty members for a letter of recommendation, nor the end of the semester. They're just busy with, you know, wrapping up or ramping up and all that. So you really want to give them enough time, especially during those peak periods for them. Thanks again, Kristen. Yeah.
Just one other thing, for people applying to clinical type programs, in addition to having letters addressing your academic skills, you're going to need somebody who can speak to your suitability for a clinical career, your health, your resilience, your maturity, things like that. And that may be a different person.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I'd advise students also to choose at least one of their letters to be from somebody in their program. Is that a good idea or not necessarily?
If they're coming straight out of undergrad,
Yeah.
then yes, I think that's a great advice.
Yeah, these would be graduating seniors.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Sorry, Lisa, to
No.
keep interrupting you.
Not at all.
You talked about the deadlines and the fact that some of the deadlines have moved to fall. Some of those are rolling deadlines. And if they're rolling deadlines like OT, you want to get into the queue as early as possible. So,
OT's not rolling
well,
anymore.
I thought it was.
Not anymore. It was 2 years ago.
But there will be programs that are. So you need to do the research to make sure that you're not only not waiting to the deadline, you're doing it as early as possible.
Absolutely. So those are what we call priority filing deadlines, and so you want to meet those priority filing deadline dates. And several of the programs in Ed have those priority filing deadlines. OT used to have that. Some Muskie, MBA, leadership is just rolling, but there are some rolling with priority filing deadlines, and those are the ones you want to meet. Absolutely. Yep.
Can I say, as the person who goes through the files and decides who we're interviewing and who we're not interviewing, one more thing about the essay. There's 3 parts to every grad school essay that should be hit. There are 3 parts to every grad school essay that should be hit upon. Why you are so awesome, and do not be humble. Okay? Don't be obnoxious, but don't be humble. You know, why are you somebody the admissions committee should look at? What do you want to do in the future is the second thing. So where do you see your career in 5, 10 years moving down? And third, how this particular program is going to help you get there. So really make explicit connections between your awesome self, your awesome future, and how the program is going to get you there.
That last point I really want to reinforce.
Yes,
That's what
because
I'm
then
getting
you
feel
are
for.
right for that program.
And you want to make sure the program is right for you.
Absolutely.
And you know what you're getting into as much as we ever do in major changes in life. So do some research, even if you know that for whatever reason you only want to and only can apply to one program. You should research it as if you were choosing among many others, because that will make you a better applicant.
Absolutely.
In fact, it would be weak to walk in and not have researched that program because you perceived that was the only one you could apply to. You will not be a strong candidate. But you know, often we worry about how do I get in, but you want to have some sense of what you're getting into. And so researching different programs, even if you're just window shopping, mobility and all sorts of issues, say, I'm going to just be able to apply this program. The more you research, the better.